As I was wandering around last night looking for a place where you could supposedly buy some beer, this really nice woman came out and greeted me. And we chatted for a while, and she invited me to come back today to have a beer with her and her family. So that's where we're headed. And I believe down this path we're also going to find that bakery, that 100-year-old bakery that I'd really like to find. An orange grove. Seems a little bit out of place here. So when we're luck today, this lovely neighbor of ours, Adriana, and her nephew Mauricio, they're giving us a tour of their property here and all of the wildflowers and the trees that are here and their Jasmine Farm, as well as some of the aspen trees that they've planted for lumber. It's really great. So we're in real luck here this afternoon.
Algunas van muriendo y otras van reemplazando.
¿Y vos pusiste estos plantas de familia?
Mi papá.
Adriana's father started this Jasmine Farm in 2008. She and her team look after 1,700 plants. It's no small coincidence that her family has turned to jasmine farming over the last decade. The National Agricultural Institute, as well as local associations of Delta farmers, have encouraged the diversification of economic activity away from the forestry that has dominated the Delta for the last 5 decades. Until the middle of the 20th century, the Delta had a more diverse agricultural industry. The famous floods of 1959 and 1983, coupled with a lack of government support, wiped out a lot of those small flower and vegetable farms, and people turned to the more durable industry of forestry. Locals now once again look to the traditional cultivation of jasmines and hydrangeas, the willow reeds used to make wicker products, as well as vegetables and citrus and other fruit trees as a way to augment their income.
Sí. Ahí está, ahí hay otro, o sea, esta planta.
Y eso no vale porque no tiene ramas.
No tiene ramita, exactamente, ¿ves? Ahí, y son grandes esos.
By diversifying economic activity, it is hoped that more and more Delta residents will be able to continue to live here on their small farms and keep these important wetlands from being bought and drained by the developers, building more and more gated communities deeper and deeper into the Delta. And even more so to protect against the increased production of soy, the agricultural and economic king of Argentina, and a bane of every environmentalist in the country. Local environmentalists, farming cooperatives, and agricultural institutions are betting that small farmers like Adriana and her family can better act as fair-minded stewards of this unique, fertile ecosystem.
Este ya está perfecto para juntar porque ahí ya se empiezan a separar los pétalos.
Now, in December, the jasmine flowers are just starting to bloom, which means they are ready to be harvested. She wants them harvested just as the petals begin to open, and you can see flashes of the white flower to come. The jasmine stem is cut at its maximum length, because the longer the stem, the more valuable the flower. Her workers gather the flowers in these wicker baskets, rinse them in these large sinks, and then tie them together in bunches of 25. The flowers are boxed and stored in this refrigerator until they take them to Escobar to be sold to distributors. You'll find bouquets of these same jasmines in any of the many flower shops in every neighborhood of Buenos Aires. The long strands of the leaf of the formillo, or New Zealand flax, was used to make rope, as well as to tie together the bunches of jasmine. It has nearly all been replaced by plastic, of course, though I still see them in use in my neighborhood vegetable shops, bundling together Swiss chard, kale, or spinach.
Se puede usar para hacer canastos o cosas, porque es muy flexible.
An important industry here in the Delta, and for Adriana and her family, is the cultivation and processing of the small, thin willow trees used to make wicker furniture and baskets. It's a 4-month process to prepare the willow poles that will eventually be woven into the baskets and furniture you'd recognize. The willow is harvested in June at their neighboring farm, boiled for 6 hours. That boiling gives it that distinctive tan color as well as softens the bark for peeling. After it's boiled, it's brought here to be soaked and then peeled in this machine.
Se mete, se sostiene y se saca. Se da vuelta Se sostiene y se saca y se deja. Y así se va haciendo con toda la cantidad.
After it is peeled, it is dried again, then bundled and brought to the mainland to be woven into all sorts of products. Shoppers from the city flock to the open-air markets in the suburbs north of Buenos Aires to find the end result of this long process that began in the Delta. Who's this guy? Oh, yeah. Viene de... Gracias, Claro. And she said I could find the bakery over here by the flowers, which I think is one of the nicest way anyone's ever given me directions. And here are some flowers. It's actually probably right here by the behind the orange grove, I think. Hello. Hola. Hola.
Mira, arrimate más, mira ahí el...
Qué grande.
El pan dulce. Este pollo era el camino. ¿Ya lo sacó? Sí, el pollo ahí por guarda. Hasta después, una vez que lo... Se enfrió un poquito, la llevamos. Tu recorrido es el que mañana te va a vender el fideo.
Sí.
Ese es el que lleva. Ese, después vienen almaceneros también.
Ok.
¿De dónde sos?
Yo soy de Estados Unidos.
Oh, no. ¿Primera vez que venís acá a la isla?
No, yo venía a la isla varias veces.
Ah.
Nunca vení por esta parte. Nunca vení por esta parte.
¿Sabes cómo pasar? Ponelo ahí mismo. Bueno, sí, que sí.
So that guy Hugo, who's the big guy there, who was the head baker, he works Monday to Friday, baking all day, and then on Saturday and Sunday he does the delivery around. And they say they used to have a lot more work than they do now. And they do the bread, and then they do that, what they call pan dulce, around the holidays. So what you saw there being pulled out of the oven is a really traditional bread that is eaten around Christmas here in Argentina, maybe in other places in the world as well. And they bake it well ahead of time, so now we're here, what, like a couple of weeks before Christmas, but I guess like the more it sits, the better it is or something. But anyway, I bought 3, so we've got 1 for tonight, and then 2 we'll bring back to the city tomorrow. So let's check this out. See how we go here.
Isn't this a bit cruel for Dante because he...
Good morning. Just listen to the birds of the Delta for a minute. The The Kukui heron, or known locally as the garza mora, never disappoints. I see a few every time I come to the Delta, and it's always a treat. In shape and form, it is nearly identical to its cousin to the north, the great blue heron, or its European relative, the gray heron. But the garza mora is exclusively South American, with a range that spans the continent. Like other herons, it's a wading bird, slowly stalking its prey in the shallows before striking out and stabbing the small fish with its long, sharp bill. The action is known as a bill stab. The dusky-legged guan, or pavo del monte, as it's called here in the Delta, is common company. You'll see a pair walking through a yard or in a clearing looking for seeds or fruit or flowers. They ramble along, mostly unnoticed. It was, or perhaps still is, a popular game bird, and whose meat was most coveted by the early settlers to the area. They mate for life, and male and female are nearly indistinguishable in appearance. But its most remarkable characteristic, for any visitor to the area, is their unsettling call. I'll leave you with it. You'll find 3 species of kingfishers in the Delta. The largest and easiest to spot is the ring kingfisher, known here as the Martín Pescador Grande. You'll also find the Amazon kingfisher, or Martín Pescador Mediano. And finally, the smallest of the 3, the green kingfisher, Martín Pescador Chico. It is an evening well spent sitting on a bank of a river in the Delta, watching the acrobatics of the kingfisher as they hunt their prey. They'll perch on a branch over the water before launching with great speed to grab a small fish or an aquatic insect. If you're lucky, you will see them grab the fish, return it to their perch, and bang the prey against their branch to kill it before eating. This whole region has an abundant supply of fresh, clean, potable water, and the world's taken notice. There's an interesting history of companies taking water from the Paraná River and selling it overseas to the Middle East, Caribbean countries, even China, where fresh, potable water is in short supply. The industry began when cargo ships would offload their cargo in ports up the Paraná and then make ballast with water from the river. A few companies had the clever notion of selling that water to countries in need, and an industry was born. More recently, Argentina and its provinces have enacted laws clearly stating that these freshwater resources belong to the state and can't be sold.
Yo creo que se va a caer.
No. ¿Sí? Sí.
Now this water's brown and muddy and really rather unappealing. It's this color throughout the Paraná River Delta, the Paraná River, and the Rio de la Plata. It's this color for a very specific reason. More than 500 miles upstream on the border of the provinces of Chaco and Entre Rios, the Bermejo River feeds into the Paraguay River, carrying with it an extraordinary concentration of the dull brown sediment that gives the river its name, Bermejo, or in English, russet. That sediment travels to the Paraguay River and then into the Paraná, and eventually to the Delta, the Rio de la Plata, and the coast of Argentina. And it colors the water a dull brown the entire way. The Bermejo accounts for nearly 90% of the sediment that gets dropped in the Delta. Its extraordinary sediment load is due to several reasons: the size and shape of the riverbed, torrential rainfalls in the region, erosion of the riverbanks, deforestation, and poor agricultural practices. The otherwise nondescript Bermejo River has an outsized impact on the entire region, as this brown is so distinct and defines one's experience with the Delta, the Rio de la Plata, and the entire Buenos Aires shoreline. Okay, that's it for now. We're just going to pack up the house and wait for the boat, head back to the city. So we'll see you next time.